Welcome to the Mixed Space Meetup, our March meetup. I'm so grateful that you guys are all here. I'm so happy to see all of you amazing people. Today is March meetup. We're talking with Sonia Smith-Kane about mixed babies and the fetishization of mixed babies and the social media phenomenon of mixed children becoming famous on Instagram. And I just have to take this second to ask, what is going to happen to these mixed babies, these famous mixed babies, when they grow up? How do they move into the world as adults, coming from tons of attention? How, did this help you? Did it confuse you? Is it going to impact people's life or people's activism? Just in general, how does it impact your growth to be raised in an environment where looks are what makes you famous? And this is a messy conversation for many of us. A lot of you know the mixed space is a place to tell the truth. We are a place that has layered conversations. It's an intersectional conversation. It's an intergenerational conversation. And also our meetup today is an invitation to heal your inner child around internalized colorism, about white supremacist beauty standards and outside expectations on how you should wear your identity. Also an opportunity to explore, what do you wish your parents knew growing up? Today with Sonia, we are asking the question, how can people be intentional and responsible around raising kids or being a caretaker or a family member around the children in their life? And hands up, many of us have been told that we look different or that we aren't good enough or aren't pretty enough, or we confuse people around our looks and we don't look the way they think we should, depending on how we identify. And then at the same time, we see these ethnically ambiguous child models becoming the national, global kind of standard of beauty in the media. And what does that mean for the next generation? What happens when all of us mixed folks have mixed babies? And what is the environment that we're trying to create for the next generation? And I just want to share my vision for the next generation of babies who are all mixed, because we are all mixed and we have always all been mixed, and that is going to continue in the world. But my vision is that babies are born to parents who are awake, who have a grounded understanding of themselves and their identities. They have less suffering, and they're able to develop a sense of self that is rooted in love and a deep understanding and connection to history and culture. And what will these babies be able to make possible, and how will they think about the work that we're doing now? This is just a little bit of an opening idea onto what we're getting into today. For those of you who don't know me yet, my name is Lily Alice Walker-Stiefel. I'm the CEO of The Mixed Space. I'm so excited to be here with you. I'm currently located in New York. My apartment here in New York is on unceded Lenape land. I use she, her pronouns. I identify as Black and mixed. I'm a Leo. My people are from Germany, from Ireland, from New Orleans, from Honduras. They're Creole and some Native and larger part of the African diaspora. So I'm just going to take a moment to say hi to folks. Hi, Bean. You're the first person I'm seeing. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Sophia. Hi, Maureen Phillips. Ooh, Maureen Phillips. Am I saying your name right?
It's Marin.
Marin, thank you so much. In general, take yourself off mute. Today is a very open conversation, so we invite you to just join in whenever you feel called to ask questions as they come, to snap if you feel like you want to show that you support what's being said. Hey, Gabriel. Hi, Sandy. Hi, Vanessa. Hi, Peter. Hi, Hannah. Hi, Liz. Just taking some time. Hi, Punita. Hi, Sarah. So happy to see all of you here today. Also, feel free to drop your socials in the chat so we can find you, so we can tag you, so we can stay connected. But I would love if community members wanted to join in on the community guidelines, if we can do like a little bit of a popcorn style. So I'll start out, and then I'm going to keep it open for people to just read what it says underneath. Like, you don't have to make up anything, just kind of read what it says on the screen. So that would be awesome. So it's not just my voice the whole time. But number 1 is engagement and courage. So raise your hand, ask questions, add stuff in the chat. We love having an open, fun, flowing conversation today. Number 2, who'll take over number 2?
I'll go.
Awesome.
Oops, ouch. Say ouch if someone says something that hurts you. Say oops and genuinely apologize for the ways your intention did not match your impact.
Thank you. Who'll take number 3?
I'll do it. This one's my favorite.
Go for it.
Number 3, I'm sexy, I'm sassy. To break the habit of over apologizing amongst women, we say I'm sexy or I'm sassy in lieu of I'm sorry.
Thank you. We'll take number 4. Come on. I'm going to start calling y'all out. AJ?
Sure, I'll do it. Number 4 is move in and move out. Are you somebody who knows they take up a lot of space in conversation? Alternatively, do you prefer to listen and sometimes can't find the right moment to interject? Try to be mindful of these behaviors and move in and move out when needed. This helps others to do the same.
Thank you. Number 5, who wants to take over number 5? Benjamin.
Identifiers. Name yours and respect others, as for example, pronouns, racial identifiers, and as we heard Lily say earlier, such as Lenape land and where your ancestors come from could fall into that category.
Thank you. Who wants to take number 6?
So, mean what you say. We can't control other members' responses, but we can make sure we're putting thought into our words and being held accountable if need be.
Thank you so much. Number 7.
I can do number 7.
Go for it.
Okay. I chose this one because I work with kids and confidentiality is very important. So confidentiality is number 7. Share your learning, not the other person's privacy. Ask permission from the person before sharing content outside of the group.
Thank you. Number 8.
I can do number 8.
Awesome.
So disagree with ideas, but not the person. This is a space for constructive dialogue, avoid making personal attacks, and focus on I statements.
Exactly. Number 9.
I can do number 9.
Thank you.
Moments of growth. The mixed space moderators see conflict as an opportunity for shared growth. We believe if the community guidelines are followed, this can be achieved.
Thank you. Number 10. I'll take that one. We encourage all of you to snap, wave, or otherwise kind of show party signs when you hear something that resonates with you. Because we're on Zoom, we can't see each other's bodies. We often don't hear each other's voices. So when someone says something that you resonate with, show it on camera. Thank you so much. This was the most fun community guideline moment ever. I think we're going to always do this. I love this so much. So before I introduce our amazing speaker for today, I do want to take a silent moment for all of us to reground, come back to our centers, take a moment to breathe, and also to honor the Asian Americans who have been a target of violence in this country, for those who have been injured, and for those who have lost their lives to the hateful and racist hands of others. We at the Mixed Space, we stand with our Asian American community members. Also the Black and brown bodies who are currently incarcerated and who are being killed at alarming rates in this country. And this is also an opportunity to understand that we are here to educate ourselves and each other, and that we can stand strong together.
Beautiful.
Okay. Thank you so much. Now, without further ado, we have a very special guest with us here today. She is the founder of Mixed Up Clothing. She's the co-founder of Culturas, of Multiculti Corner, and of Mixed Heritage Day. She's also the president of Multiracial Americans of Southern California. She's a proud Afro-Latina married to a Korean husband who she shares 4 multicultural, multiracial, multilingual children with. I want to present to you Sonia Smith Kang.
Woo-hoo. Hi. Thank you so much for having me. I think I need one more thing to do and add to my my resume there.
What do you want to add to your resume?
I don't know. I might think of something. It's not long enough. I cannot thank you enough for having me and providing this space. So thank you. I'd like to just share that I'm calling from Los Angeles. I'm actually on the occupied territory of the Gabrielino Tongva Nation land. So I'd like to just acknowledge that we're here to show respect for Indigenous peoples and recognize their enduring relationship to the land. We recognize and honor the elders who have stewarded this land for generations. We acknowledge their history and that Indigenous peoples are still here, their land still occupied. If you'd like to find out what land you are on, a website that I have is, native-land.ca. If you'd like to learn a little bit more, and there's also an app.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. We are just going to jump into this presentation and kind of just jump into the conversation here. We sent out, a lot of you who signed up and got emails, we sent out a journal prompt. For those of you who didn't get that journal prompt or are joining spontaneously and haven't got that email, that is being posted in the chat right now, just to give you the same materials that other folks might have who are joining the conversation today. But yeah, as soon as we see this first slide of definitions, I think that's where we decided that we wanted to start our conversation, because there's so many vocab words and so many little pieces of information that we wanted to go over first, so that we are all literally on the same page and we have a similar understanding of the words that we're going to be using to help us continue and deepen this journey.
So, as you mentioned, Lily, I'm excited to be here, not only, as a parent, but as someone who identifies as mixed race, biracial, Afro-Latina. My father is African-American, my mom Mexican, and a proud military brat who was born on the island of Puerto Rico. And then my family was transferred to the Hawaiian island of Oahu. And so I came to California and, it was at a time where there was this shift, or there was this, kind of Eurocentric standard of beauty. It was blonde hair, blue eyes, feathered. And I didn't really fit in. And so I've done this work I just remember sitting on a school bus, knowing that I did not fit in, and having a lot of folks, talk to me, or touch my hair, or, make remarks. And then I actually noticed, even with my own children, the same kind of comments. So I'm really intrigued by the subject, and have done a lot of work around it. With our nonprofit, Multiracial Americans of Southern California. So, let's dig in. Here's the definitions that we'll be working with. So these are, just from the terms that we'll be using in this discussion. Fetishizing can be thought of as an act, or making someone as an object of desire based on some aspect of their identity. Race, although we all know that it is a social construct, it is one that is still used today. So we have to acknowledge that. And so race is defined as any one of the groups that humans are divided into based on their physical traits regarded as common among people of shared ancestry. Ethnicity refers to where you and your family come from. It encompasses factors such as your nationality, a tribal affiliation, religion, language, traditions. Culture includes our traditions, customs, or any of the non-genetic aspects. Microaggression is something that we've heard more about lately, but it's a comment or an action that subtly or often unconsciously or unintentionally expresses a prejudiced attitude towards a member of a marginalized group. You know it when you hear it. Folks can probably drop in the comments, some of the microaggression that they've heard. It just kind of makes you go, wait a second. Maybe you'll laugh at first, but then there's like this punch that happens right after that you kind of think, that didn't feel right. So we will talk a little bit more about that. Colorism is prejudice or discrimination, especially within a racial or ethnic group, favoring people like with lighter skin over those with darker skin. And then exotic. Folks I've heard in our community within some of the folks that we talk to, some don't have as strongly a take with the word exotic as others do, but it is defined as originating in or characteristic of a distant foreign country. So it's kind of that different, other. So that kind of falls in there as well.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone that has any questions about this, or if you have your own definition or a way that you'd like to, an addition you want to make, like you can either speak up now, drop it in the chat. Again, this is a very interactive conversation today. Each of our meetups is always a little bit different, so I try to let people know what kind of a meetup this is, and this is definitely the kind where we're all kind of talking together. Otherwise,
yeah, next slide.
Get into it. Yeah.
So, this is the slide where it's just, for Black, Indigenous, people of color, BIPOC will use that word term. The fetishizing of their race or ethnicity is not new, right? It's in our quest to combat racism and oppression. We have to look not only at the direct acts of bigotry. So this is why it's important, once you see and identify, you're able to start doing the work. And one of the objectives here today is, while on the surface it may seem benign and even complimentary, oftentimes these things that might be seen as preferences can actually reinforce harmful stereotypes that are already heard and about different groups. So it's important that we listen in, we identify, and then we start to do the work.
Yeah. So we decided to start off by looking at the trend of this mixed race baby fetishization overall and show some examples. So we can really start with, what does this look like? What are we talking about specifically when we're in this meetup today? How can we really pinpoint the examples? Sarah May, I see you raised your hand. Do you want to take yourself off mute and say anything? I might be a little bit late.
Yeah, it was, a moment ago when you were talking about the terms that's going to be used today, I just wondered if, because I live in Scotland, which is a predominantly white country, so quite often you'll hear the word exotic when describing someone who's of mixed ethnicity or maybe from a different country. Is that a negative term to use?
That's a great question. And it really points out the regional differences, right? And again, it's how the person who is receiving it. And I think what's important at this point is to also understand, intention versus impact. And so one of the things that I always try to go to is, so it's defined just by its definition alone, is that it's foreign. And so sometimes when it's used in that term, you really have to ask yourself, if I were to switch out the word exotic, would I, and use like maybe, what else it means, foreign, different, other, would I have used that word? So if it's a word that I would not have said, would I still use exotic? So some folks see it as, maybe it's beautiful, like an exotic plant or flower or bird. But then others also hear the same thing and think that they are being othered. So I appreciate the question, and I would love to hear what others, if they take slight to that comment as well. But I appreciate you bringing that up. And regionally, it is used differently.
I have to say though, I don't like the term foreign at all, or the term immigrant. I mean, my partner is not a national to this country, so technically it would be I just hate the word. It sounds like they're like an alien who doesn't belong anywhere. So I don't use the I word, and I try not to use the word foreign either, because again, it just sounds like you're not here, I feel like it just gives the impression that you don't belong here or something. I just feel like everyone should be welcome. If you're a law-abiding citizen, you should be welcome anywhere. If you're not harming anyone, you're living your life, you're working. I mean, there's a lot more Scottish people here who don't work than from anyone else from any other country. And in the UK, that is something a lot of people moan about people coming in and taking our jobs. But then they're not. I could rant all day. Sorry, I won't go on. But yeah, I try not to use that term.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I mean, my final word to that is I feel like oftentimes exotic actually shows how little I know about the person, thing, or whatever that I'm talking about. Because exotic plants are not exotic in the rainforest. Like, they're native to the rainforest. They're only exotic to me because I'm sitting in New York and I've never seen it before. So really that word for me is actually a sign that whoever's talking to me and using that word is unfamiliar with my surroundings and unfamiliar with my backgrounds, but I'm not unfamiliar with them. And even if I was, they're not any different or weirder than the person who's using the word. It's just a sign that that person is kind of lacking in that moment, like lacking understanding and awareness of like what it is that we're talking about when it comes to the topic. So I think that's just an opportunity to bridge with some learning. It's a learning moment.
Definitely.
I don't always see raised hands. I am looking for them, but if you have your hand raised, just feel free to pop in. That's what we're doing here today. Otherwise, let's look at this. So we scoured social media to see all of the different accounts and ways that people are having this conversation. So there's the mixed babies accounts. There's like mixed race babies, mixed babies world, mixed babies united, mixed babygram. There's so many accounts that I'm sure a lot of you have seen, or maybe some of you run these accounts. Maybe some of you have submitted images of yourself or your children on these accounts. Definitely super open and interested to hear like all of folks' relationship to these accounts. But like Mixed Kids Are Beautiful, Mixed Kids Ministry, Mixed Kids IG, Mixed Kids Beauty. There's so much happening around this. There's so much happening around this conversation. So passing it back off to Sonia.
Yeah, and I probably will take some of these pages, for or as my connection to them is definitely through my children's clothing line, Mixed Up Clothing. I started Mixed Up Clothing. I was actually a registered nurse by education. And when I started having my children, I really felt a need for them to be seen in all aspects of, our reality. And so I left nursing to start Mixed Up Clothing because I really wanted to see, I wanted to be very intentional with what I brought into my home. And so, I started the clothing line. I sourced fabric from all over the world, and I turned them into, everyday wear that children can wear. So I use some of these websites or social media pages. I follow some of them, and because I need to know what folks, that's just what it means to run a business, right? And so, so there's tons of these kind of social media pages. And, what I want to be able to say is, I'm actually glad to see, all these things, because growing up in 80s, 90s kind of kid, I didn't even see a commercial with like an interracial couple or, anybody who looked like me, anybody on MTV, any of those kind of shows. Like there wasn't anyone who looked like me. So the fact that there's so many pages where parents were like, look, I need, or companies were like, let me, represent for the mixed race, multiracial, biracial, community, and start these pages. So I just wanted to be said that, on its head alone, we're not making judgments on that. It's just kind of what happens if you dig deep into the page and what they're actually showing. I think it's a good point to stop here and kind of talk about our rates as a mixed race community. As we all know, we're one of the fastest growing populations. Interracial marriages are on the rise. 1 in 6 newlyweds, partners of a different race or ethnicity, according to Pew. So where all of this was kind of non-existent back, in the day, now it's kind of reflecting our diversity, right? And so there's this coming together, there's this sharing of identity. There's some good that comes from some of these pages where you can actually hope to learn, but it's whoever's running the account that we just kind of need to be leery of and what they're actually showing and through what lens they're trying to tell. These are some of the pages, and Lily, you can talk a little bit more about what you see here.
Yeah, we just wanted to kind of show also the grandeur of some of these pages. I mean, Mixed Babies IG specific has 291,000 followers. Like, this is a big deal. These are pages that can be monetized. These are pages sometimes that start only to be monetized. And it's interesting when we see, like, getting really into the fetishization. It says Mixed Babies and then Pretty Babies Instagram, but the image is like a really light-skinned child and then blue glaring eyes. And it's like, this is, I think, a lot of times what happens is we have this misconception that that's what mixed babies look like, when in reality, there's tons and tons of different ways that mixed babies can look, and they can be dark-skinned, they can be monoracial and be mixed. Like, it just is really highlighting and showing one certain kind of a way to be mixed that is problematic. And I think sometimes we are not aware of it, because in and of itself, that baby is cute. Yes. Like, is it a problem that someone has a cute baby? No. Is it a problem that that person thinks their baby is only cute because of the certain, like, that phenotype that the baby has, because of the way that the baby looks? Like, yes. And also, why are we so obsessed with the cuteness of babies? We're coming to that later. But, and then, Mixed Babies, perfectly blended children, follow this new account for daily updates. Just think some of the language is really weird and spooky and potentially damaging. So that's what we wanted to show with this slide here. And then we took it a little bit further, and we started to see what happens when you look up mixed babies. And then there's all these hashtags, mixed babies are the cutest, mixed babies are beautiful, mixed babies are the best, mixed babies are the best babies. And it's interesting, like, why do we need so many different kinds of hashtags to say the same thing? Like, everyone is saying the same thing, trying to call attention to this, which you're right, Sonia. I mean, I didn't feel super pretty. I didn't feel like, oh my God, I'm the cutest baby. Like, I don't feel like that was a rhetoric that was around when I was growing up, to now see that this is something that has, 10,000 posts on Instagram. That's part of it. So, the transition of the perspective is a really interesting part of this conversation. And definitely, Frankie, thank you so much for your comment too, about folks not having consent sometimes to share the images that they're seeing, making decisions about how you're going to share your child's identity on social media, and understanding that when you post something, you lose essentially all the rights to that image. I mean, people could just do all sorts of stuff. It's really hard to find that balance. Sonia.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like speechless, because there's so many things that can go wrong. I mean, we talk about, internet safety, right? And consent. Would the child want to be, in 10 years, 15 years, would they want to be able to track themselves back to this moment? So I think those are some of the things that we need to keep in mind as we're posting, as we're sharing. There's one thing to have, more representation, but we have to, have the consent piece. We have to know exactly what we're doing and why we're doing it. And I think those are some of the issues that, why conversations like this are so important, because of this is just going to grow. Our community and our numbers are just growing. So it's important that we are having these kind of discussions now, so that we can be, mindful of this as it grows.
So this is just another way to show some of the hashtags, and then also just someone's comment. I mean, someone just full on posted this: Mama already knows she having mixed grandbabies one day. Like people are really out to kind of saying, like, I'm going to have a mixed baby, which, I mean, I'm not a mom, so I can't even imagine what it must be like to have a baby, to carry a baby in my body, to be pregnant for 9 months, all of the things that happen, even when folks are adopting children, or when people become educators or aunts and uncles, that kind of thing. Like, there's so much responsibility. It's such a huge change. So to think about just creating a human, because that human's going to be mixed, or because that human's going to have like an racially ambiguous look, or have this kind of caramel tone and the cool curly textures, like, really mind-blowing to me. And it's so dehumanizing.
And these are the layers of that we need to unpack. And that's why your this month's talk is so important. So let's delve into it a little bit more. Next slide.
This is a question for all of you. So this is what I want to know. Like, when did you notice this cute mixed babies trend? How did you become aware of it? All of you out here on Zoom, post it in the chat or take yourself off of mute. Like, what's been your experience with this trend?
Hi, I'm Sophia, and I just wanted to say, from the last slide, we were talking about mixed babies. I think this has really come from social media, because when I was a child, I don't remember hearing much about it. And I think it would be really, really hard growing up as a child now with social media. I volunteer at a children's hospital, and it kind of breaks my heart to see how we're teaching children at such a young age what is beautiful in such a weird way. Like, it's uncomfortable. I see babies all the time, and when I think of a beautiful or a cute baby, it's when they smile and laugh. It's not, the way they look. And I think, and then we wonder why children grow up with so many insecurities at such a young age. And it's because we're kind of just putting these accounts up, and that's weird to me. I haven't been on social media for a long time. I just got on social media and on Instagram this year, and I'm surprised, and I'm 18, right? So yeah, it's uncomfortable to see kids being represented like this.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I agree. You know, again, it's that line, right? As a newer parent, as a proud parent, or auntie, or, you know, caregiver, teacher, whatever it is, your connection to a child, whether they're mixed race or otherwise, it is something that, you know, what are we teaching them? And the fact that you are asking these questions really goes to show, you know, some of the things that we need to think about. And it is uncomfortable. I mean, if that is your, you know, that barometer of what is normal or not normal or harmful, that is what you need to listen to. And I think that's what we're talking about today, is how do we, you know, how can we, as someone who cares about maybe a child or a community, what can we do to kind of change this narrative? Because underneath it all is, you know, some of the things that are dehumanizing, and that we're kind of falling back into, you know, what it means to demean and to oppress. And so those are some of the things that we'll talk about as we continue on with the slides.
So, do you want?
Hello. Yeah, may I please share my thoughts? Thank you so much for this topic. I first became aware of biracial or mixed babies about 16 years ago. I just find this so dehumanizing that they would. I mean, you listen when we're talking about this topic, and I'm thinking about current science, as we know that as we speak, or we have been some years back, science has been exploring the possibilities of mixing eggs and creating a human that would either with the outcome of the gender or the color, and it's a science that we know is alive, and it's in progress. This is really not that different, and it is very dehumanizing. It's hurtful, especially knowing that we all need to identify to a group of people, a culture, and children, whatever, despite the color and the background, are humans. And I think that maybe focusing on the fact and reality that we're dealing with humans' lives, people's emotions, human beings that needs the same type of identity and culture as most of us have the ability to celebrate. We also need to focus on how do they begin to make those connections to celebrate their identities. I personally grew up in a very Hispanic part of town as a very young child, and I know how confusing it was to me when everything that was published in the school district was in alignment with the majority of the mainstream culture, the white population, and it was so foreign to me. Yet I am native to North America, and my heart aches when I see how beautiful these children are, but how much value in their looks that are really no different in the way people value different types of animals, horses, dogs. And this needs to stop, because we are dealing with human beings that will be young and cute for a moment and will grow up into society. We need to give them their identity and identify it and celebrate it, and maybe focus on other opportunities, whether it's language proficiency, if the native cultures, or academia. But this begins with us and celebrating our own identities and facilitating programs and opportunities to embrace their identity.
I love that.
Well, I love that as well. And I think we are definitely going to, come back and ask for your input because that is definitely what we're, in the solution section, how do you do that? So, to kind of reset the room here, we're talking about, fetishizing and versus, just compliments to our children, and more than just bringing representation, which on its, on the one level seems like it's benign. But once you go deeper, and what are you actually telling, the children? What are we telling them? And what are they going to grow up to be? I'm hearing words like dehumanizing. And I think that is such a strong word that we need to sit with that for a moment, because what is it that we're saying? Our language is so important. And what is the message that these children that are going to be our, future adults, what are they taking with them? And how do we give them the tools in order to be, the adults that we hope and help, that is more helpful than harmful to them. So thank you for that.
So what we did, was someone gonna say something?
Oh, I was gonna just share how I guess my relationship with babies on social media. I really love babies and I look at them a lot. And especially on Instagram, if you're looking for babies, most of them are going to be light-skinned or white babies. And so if you want to find diversity, you have to search. And so a lot of the accounts are very segregated based on race. So you'll have beautiful Black babies, and then mixed race babies, Asian baby accounts. So they're all very put in their own, box group. And I guess I didn't at first see a problem with seeing mixed baby account, because that's kind of just, the norm in this world of segregation. And if you want to find a baby that isn't white, you have to search for it. And so then most of the accounts that you'll get are specific types. And most of the mixed baby accounts that I see, it's all about dark skin, white eyes. And I see that a lot in the media with okay, if somebody is represented and they have dark skin, then they will have light hair or light eyes. And yeah, I guess that's all.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that, when we go through these next few slides, there is that part of social media, right? That is the SEO part. That is the trying to find something that you're looking for. That is the, trends, or that's, how they categorize, how, so that when somebody is looking for, that's how it's set up. I get that. And I think, again, what we're seeing is that we have to be able to say, is this harmful versus helpful? And I think as we continue to look through these slides, we'll get to be able to ask ourselves and answer those kind of questions. So let's talk about this slide here.
I do want to let AJ talk. He has his hand raised. Sarah, you had your hand raised.
Lily, yeah, thank you for pausing just for a second share thought I had. I want to say a lot of the stuff being discussed today is so it really hits because one of my friends today couldn't make this meeting. It's we had just like had a background discussion about like a lot of times we discuss I'm hearing words about dehumanizing and fetishizing and like in one group I'm in we discuss like interracial relationships and the issues that Asians go through with either like Asian men being emasculated, like Asian women being hyper fetishized, and like mixed relationships and but that it's tough because sometimes people from mixed backgrounds like that the discourse in groups like that were kind of challenging because how do I say this? Like, it's from that lens, it's like you said, sometimes when you have a mixed background, like conversations like that can be very sometimes like, oof, like they're really like disorienting or like almost uncomfortable way because it can be a little triggering at times. So like this conversation today, like in this setting, it's like one of my friends couldn't make the meeting and I think they would find this like super validating and like super healing because a lot of points being discussed today just like really hit. And I was wondering if like minutes or like a summary or something or like some kind of like the slides you mentioned, like would those be available for those who couldn't make the meeting but those who really would have benefited as a catch up after the fact? I'm just wondering if that's an option because a lot of this really is relevant.
Thank you. So just to that, we upload the full meetup on YouTube after. So it's like we're working on the past backlog now, but November, December, January, and February are all up on YouTube and can be watched as full. And then there's also clips. So there's like smaller, more digestible bits of video content that people can watch if they don't want to watch the whole thing. And then there's also the whole thing, and the PowerPoint presentation will be in there. And the PowerPoint will also be sent in the email after. So because you signed up, like you'll get the email after, and then you can forward the email with the PowerPoint presentation as well.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
But to your point, I just want to, something that I also heard that I think is important is that this conversation is just the start. Let's continue to have conversations like this because as you can see that it's not just with children. This carries out into even as an adult myself and what I'm hearing from within the community as there are those aspects of the fetishizing that we continue to hear, whether it was the points about the Asian community that you mentioned, there's very harmful, things, if you hashtag yellow fever or any of the, other things that are derogatory or that go into that fetishizing where you are strictly looking at somebody based on, their what they are versus their totality of who they are. So definitely not just specific to children. We chose this for children, but we're hoping that folks are able to extrapolate that and see how that kind of resonates with them even as adults.
Yes. Yes. Last words to this slide here. So, what happens when, we found this from Google Analytics. So what happens when folks Google certain things, there's always a list of related topics to Googling mixed babies. And so related topics were like cuteness, race, Mexico, eyes, and Mexicans. So I don't know what Mexico and Mexicans have to do with cute babies, but definitely that was what Google said. But then related queries are like other like things that are being Googled and other searches that are coming up, and it's baby, mixed baby, cute babies, mixed race babies, mixed babies, black and white. So the mixed babies, black and white, I think is another interesting thing. It's like a lot of these pages are super diverse when it comes to the countries and the background. But I also, in the beginning of our research, we found a lot of focus on babies that are specifically Black, mixed with Black and white, and understanding that there's obviously like undescribable amounts of different ways in which people are mixed, and that often gets kind of left out of the conversation or that we don't get there until later. That there, especially in the US, there's a large focus on like Black and white mixes, which very interesting, I guess, and definitely worth noting.
Yeah.
Sonia, I'll let you take this one.
Okay, cool. This is, again, by sub-region. We talked, yes, this is US based. I would, if we had more time, we could definitely look at, around the world, what kind of interest and comments and question, I guess, data that we're able to get from Google. But this one is showing that there's a lot of interest in Mississippi, Arkansas, Indiana, Alabama, and Kentucky. And before, kind of going live with this, our group here kind of discussed, like, why is that? And if I'd love to hear what folks, especially if there's research folks out there that could kind of help us understand. We were talking, one of our theories was that maybe this is an area where mixed children maybe aren't as common, I guess, for lack of a better word, but that they're looking and they're Googling kind of terms because they need more of the help. They need more of the queries that they're looking for because they need to maybe answer things for themselves. Whereas maybe in more metropolitan areas, we see it more common. And so that was kind of one of the working theories that we had for this one. And so again, I think that gives us kind of just a different way of looking at the different, the top 10. Again, it's very centralized here in these areas, the top 10 there. And it could just be, because they have more of the questions because it's not as common as maybe in more metropolitan areas. Next slide. Yeah, this kind of just talks a little bit more about that. And, this is the timeline one, right? Like what's going on over the last 12 months that we've needed, to kind of talk about this or to see these numbers. Or these terms. So I think that was kind of an interesting way to look at our search. Next slide.
You see also too is that mixed babies are the blue lines and then mixed children is the red lines. And so what we're seeing is that people have a really high focus on babies. And then when babies become children, like we've already had this comment that these babies will eventually grow out of being babies and they will become toddlers and they will become young adults eventually. And that the focus, the fetishization kind of ends or it kind of tails off when these children get older. So it's really this focus on babies who haven't really grown into a full personality yet necessarily, who haven't grown into a full sense of self that we are so focused on. Okay, so we have looked at this on social media. We've looked at the hashtags. We've looked at what people are Googling. We've looked at how long this has been going on. We've looked at all sorts of things. And now we're really looking at what it sounds like. What are people saying? What are some of the things that y'all have heard? What are some of the things that y'all might have even said without really realizing what the repercussions could be? Like, what's the verbal conversation actually around this topic? So I'd love to hear from people. And maybe Sonia specifically, like Sonia, what have been the things that some people have said to you about your mixed babies?
Let's see. So yeah, I would love to hear other folks. I think, and again, this is a safe and brave place, and I want to, to just bring that back. And you've set this room up to be just that. And so I will definitely be transparent in sharing as well. Again, I have 4 children. My 2 youngest are Korean, African American, and Mexican. I've heard so many things. Again, mixed babies are the prettiest babies. I've heard things like, oh, but they don't, oh, lucky them, they don't look too Black. Or, oh, look at them, they, within the Asian community, which is something I've learned, very focused on eye shape and lids. And so I heard a lot about that. Oh, you're so lucky. They have a eyelid. And it took me back because I was thinking, wow, someone is really looking at my children very intently and really focusing on those kind of features that again make you pause, right? And you're just, I was like this happy, like, oh my gosh, look at my child. And then they just kind of went in. Or one of my kids is darker, and they were very confused. Folks were very confused by him being so dark. And I was like, well, it's funny how genes work, right? I just wanted to say, like, how can you just make a comment like that? Do you know what you're leaving me with when you say those things? And, I just wanted to say, well, his grandfather's Black. So, I mean, I can't, or, it's a lot. And I would love to hear, if there's anyone who can commiserate with those kind of things that they've heard.
I'm going to call on Taylor. She has her hand raised. And then,
I think first when we hear other people, when we hear people talking about mixed babies and how they're beautiful, when we first are introduced to that conversation, there is a sense of pride in finally seeing that representation that many of us didn't grow up with. But then you really see other people start to romanticize your entire experience, which is incredibly problematic. For me, ever since the day I was born, my white grandfather has referred to me as, quote unquote, his exotic beauty, which has always made me know that I was different from him. Since I can remember, as well as, my brother and I are constantly compared in our mixes, even though we're the same mix. He's significantly darker than I am, as well as in conversations with my mixed friends who are half, whereas I'm a quarter. They will openly say that they don't want to have children with someone who's white because then their child will be a quarter. When I am very obviously right there. And the whole romanticization of that is very invalidating to my own experience being mixed. Yeah.
Thank you. Kirsha.
Yeah, thanks for sharing your guys' different stories. I guess I won't spend too much time, but I think, I'm just thinking back actually before hearing about this trend, just growing up, I'm in my mid-20s, and there were definitely times that I remember where I'd be in the store with my parents or something, or in the parking lot. I remember in Walmart one time, and random people will come up. In my experience, it's been a lot of white folks, but I know that it varies per person, and people will come up and say, oh, you guys have the most beautiful kids, this curly hair especially, and, talking about our skin tones and eye colors and things like that. It's just very dehumanizing. I think I've heard people say that a few times today, and I agree with that. But even for me, I've heard people even recently talking about this fetishization of mixed babies, in the workplace actually. And I work in public health, mind you. So it's completely out of context, has nothing to do with work. And like, I have some coworkers who will like regularly talk about how like beautiful they think mixed like children are, and like for no reason. And I'm like, what is, you're just saying that because I'm here, you know, clearly it's very clear and obvious, but it's weird. I'm like, will this ever end? You know, I just don't understand why these thoughts need to be brought up, but I just wanted to share my experiences there. And thank you for sharing yours, everyone.
Thank you. Frankie.
So thanks everyone for sharing. I'm coming into the space as a parent of a mixed kid, and she's still a baby. Well, she's a baby in my eyes, but she's 20 months and she's a toddler now. I just had found like over the past couple of years, I didn't realize it was a thing because I'm someone that's not really, I'm okay on social media, but not that much. And as I started learning more and more about like how folks were creating fan pages for mixed race children, when she was a baby, people would photograph her without us knowing. We were at numerous restaurants pre-pandemic where people would just photograph her like while we were at the restaurant. And I didn't know how to, and I'm not someone that's like good with how to be like with how to respond promptly to something that makes me uncomfortable. I tend to shut down. But it was really hard to ask people not to photograph our baby, you know, and I think that's why it's been a lot easier to not be out, because I find that folks tend to ask less questions. I think it's something that comes up for us is, you know, how do we address things like, you know, my partner's white, but our kid is half Black and half Salvadorian. And, you know, how do we, you know, how do you navigate that space, and how do you ask these questions when people have all these questions about, well, how did she get here? And, you know, why does she look different? I think also like as someone that's mixed and as me being Latino and a lighter skinned Latino, I've been doing soul searching as to what does colorism look like? And what does anti-Blackness look like? And how is my daughter going to navigate these spaces? Because as a lighter skinned Salvadorian, I have half of my family telling her to stay out of the sun. And then there's this other side that by some dynamics, she's actually a lighter skinned Black person in this country. And how do we navigate that space? And how do we talk to her about these things? Thank God she's 2, but because I have time, but like, you know, it's really figuring these things out. So this is bringing up a lot for me. So I'm just really glad that this space is here to teach us how to, you know, really have the space for parents to show children how to navigate it or embrace it.
Ooh, I need to pause for a moment. I know we have some folks that are saying some amazing things, but for the last 3 folks that were on, I really just want to say you are heard. And thank you for sharing. I think that, you know, you're for the 20-month-old, and I think you are so ahead of the game in talking about it and in thinking this through so that you do have a game plan. And we're going to talk to those points about like what to do now that you've seen all this, now that you've heard this, and you've done some of the education part. Now what can we do? Somebody mentioned in the comments, do they even deserve an answer, right? So those kind of things. So we're going to try and empower, you know, ourselves as we move through to say, you know, what we are comfortable with replying, and what parts of us do, you know, because there are some of us who do feel compelled to reply. And then there are some who are just like, no, you do not deserve an answer from me. And you know, no is, you know, a complete sentence. So thank you for bringing up those points. And I think colorism is obviously its own huge topic that we need to that is probably more time than we have here. But it's important to talk about because of the critiquing that happens. And, within our Black and brown bodies, that has been long going. It's the history, it's the racial imbalance, right? That has continued to create these hierarchies within ourselves, within different shades and skin tones. And all of that has to do with an imbalance of racial power, of dominance and white supremacy. And it's a part of this socially constructed hierarchy of race that we just kind of play into and continue to play into. And so we see that played out within colorism, within fetishization. And so, this is the work. This is our work, and this is the peeling back of the layers in order for us to be able to not only heal ourselves, and I'm speaking for myself as I continue to heal that 12-year-old who sat on a school bus, who didn't, see herself, and who did appear as somebody, or was told she was different, as well as now advocate for my children who are also experiencing some of that within themselves at, on campuses, on the school grounds. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I have two things to say before we move on. Yes, thank you for the next slide. First of all, Christine, thank you so much for holding our community and for responding to people. You are love, and thank you. And the second thing is, no is a complete sentence. I don't know how often we can repeat that when it comes to people, like everything that is being talked about here. No is a complete sentence. I feel like especially folks who transcend culture, who transcend countries, who transcend language, we have this built-in empathy, this built-in flexibility that allows us to really be large in our existence. And sometimes it can be challenging to set that boundary. So no is a complete sentence. Thank you.
Please, on the mention of the word no, can I say something to Frankie? Because there was a mention of you didn't know how to say to people, didn't have the courage to say to people. I'm absolutely horrified that people would come up and take a photo of a child. Maybe it's because I work with children and confidentiality is so important, but people here would ask me to take a photo of my dog when I'm out. I mean, Frankie, you deserve, and your child deserves, for you to barge in and say, please don't take a photo of my child. So please don't ever think twice about having the courage to say that to someone, because you don't know what they're going to do with that picture. So you don't know who they are. So I would say, I'm just horrified that people would do that, take photos of any child.
Yeah, I think, thank you for responding. I think also, some of these things and for myself, and also I would love to hear from Frankie as well. It's out of the blue, right? All of a sudden you're just kind of hit with, oh my goodness. Okay. So you do have to take a moment to pause, but I think these are some of the things that, we could start to practice so that we do get a little bit better at, having agency over what we allow of others. So those are some of the objectives for having conversations like this.
Thank you. We're going to move on. Sophia, I see your hand is raised. I will call you in just a second. I want to get through a couple of these next slides and continue to move through the info that we have. So we can start practicing. That's what we'll use our breakout rooms for. So these are just a couple things that have been pulled from the internet. This is someone saying, I think repeating a lot of what we're saying, like, fetishizing of mixed race children. Why? Please stop. Especially those people who are saying mixed race babies are so cute. I want my baby to be just like you. Not all mixed race babies look exotic or unique. Like, you can be completely dark skinned and be mixed race. You can have all the features of one parent's race and be mixed. We are not a different species of human. We are everyday people. Like, this is what we've been talking about. So I'm really grateful that, it's cool that we have been able to have a conversation where folks are able to voice this. Sonia, giving it back to you.
Yeah, no. I would love, yeah, keep going. This is all, this is stuff that we've talked about. Next slide. So as we, start to close out, and this is kind of the point where we talk about how can we raise children as healthy individuals. What's your intention with your for your child? How will you prepare them? How will you honor all their identities? How will you educate them on and ensure they are educated in all of their cultures and ethnicities? This is the journal prompt that I love. I'm sitting here with my own journal, and I'm writing down, some of these things, and I'm learning as as we're going. And so I would just ask you to share with us, how we'll take some of these in the breakout rooms, but how do you honor all your identities? And how do you educate yourself on your own, multiculturalism or your history, your ancestry? I would love to hear what you do as well.
So Sophia, I'm gonna let you head us off with your comment from previously.
I just wanted to say something real quick about, we were talking about how no is a sentence in itself. And I just wanted to talk about the fact that when I grew up, my dad always told me that you do not have to tell anyone where you're from. And it's kind of weird because from a young age, I've had the experience of people having this kind of a guessing game of where I'm from, and strangers, complete strangers on the bus who would be like, oh, are you Persian? Or are you Greek? Are you Brazilian? Like, I've gotten all these, and I personally don't mind as much. But ultimately, I don't have to tell you. I do because I don't mind and I don't take it personally, but they expect you to give them this whole biography of where you're from. And it's not fair. I mean, not just for a mixed person, but just for any person. How do you start off a conversation just like expecting them to tell you where you're from? My dad always taught me, when I get questions like that, I just say I'm Canadian. I have a Canadian passport. I'm a Canadian citizen. And I don't really go off telling people where I'm from because I don't see the point. I'm half Armenian and half Mexican. And my dad, my Armenian side, comes from a culture of genocide and from a culture where I don't like to point that out because my family would get bomb threats for being Armenian. My last name would be looked up on a phone book, and people would call us and tell us that we would get threats because of my last name, not me personally, but my own family. And because of that, no one deserves, I don't think anyone needs to know where I'm from unless I want to talk about it. So yeah, no is a sentence in itself. I just want to point that out.
I just, when we talk about this, I think what I hear and I really want to point out is our safety, right? And that's first and foremost. And again, just in being in different spaces, whether it's here on Zoom or in other, communities, Clubhouse or wherever we're talking about having, these mixed race spaces, you're going to hear so many different opinions. People are like, I don't mind answering those questions. Oh, that's, or no, I just don't answer them. I look at them and then I make them uncomfortable. You're going to hear all these different things. Please do what is best for you And that's what the journaling is, why that is so important. And that's why we felt our prompts were going to be so important, because what is right for you may not be right for someone else, but definitely bringing in safety from that, I think is so important, because, you know, we have to remain safe in answering these questions, and if that is what we want to do. So thanks for bringing that point. And the other thing I heard was Dad was really there for you to help guide those kind of questions. And that's amazing. That's, you know, so that when my children are on a Zoom call, I hope they say the same thing, like, you know, my mom, you know, really talked to me about this. She prepped me. We role played. We talked about, you know, how to answer these kind of questions so that I'm not blindsided, so that I can walk with some kind of, you know, a way to answer these kind of questions if I choose to. And that is my choice. And so thanks for bringing that up, and kudos to Dad. Next slide.
Also, I just really want to quickly say that I actually never really talk about this, and to have an amazing group to just be able to talk freely about this. I just want to say thank you. You guys are absolutely amazing. I don't know most of you guys personally, but yeah, this is a great and safe community, and I'm really happy to be part of it.
Today was the day I needed, and I second exactly what, you know, you're saying. It's we need to have these conversations. You know, some of it is, and sometimes it is from a, you know, whether it's from a mixed community, you just want to be able to share in a space where somebody can nod and say, like, I get it. I hear you. I had that too, or this was my experience. And I think that's, you know, I mentioned this to Lily early on, that the environment that she has set up is just incredible. So thank you again.
Yeah. I think I have a suggestion to the slide we just touched on about how can we teach children to love themselves. Was that the topic? Oh, I keep forget. I can't comment if it works or not, because I haven't done it yet. I'm currently pregnant to my Nigerian partner, and I've been thinking already how can I teach this child? And I'm quite lucky. My mom has always taught me to be myself, be individual. Like, I'm quite a pink person, and not that that's not the same as obviously being of other ethnicity, but she's always taught me to be myself and be unique and celebrate my uniqueness. And I want to do the same thing for my child. And I always think with teaching and learning, books is always a good place to start. And my partner was also raised Muslim. I know very little about Muslim culture. So I think what I can learn with my child, I've already got a book on my Amazon wish list for Muslim culture. There's one about, is it 20 Muslims who changed the world or something like that? Children's book, and I'm already looking at things like that so I can learn with my child and teach my child to love his or herself as they are and celebrate their part Nigerian culture, celebrate the Muslim culture. I won't bring my child up to be any religion, but if he or she chooses to do so, then that's fine. But I do think that's sometimes a good place to start, is books and learning from that. And also having kind of, for children, having multicultural toys as well. Like when I was growing up, I did have a black Barbie doll, and I didn't really think anything of it. It was like my friend said, "Oh, you're a black Barbie, that's great." I didn't. So I think it's always good to have that kind of intercultural, because one thing I hear a lot and see a lot, especially on social media by white people, is, "I will teach my children to love your children." And it's like, okay, that's great. So you're not teaching your child to be racist, but how are you teaching your child to love other children of other ethnicities? Are you, I mean, if you look at their bedroom, all their toys are white, their books are white. And I think it's better to have you need to have these conversations even with your white kids. I think it's important.
Absolutely. And we're gonna, the next slide is talking about that exact thing, right? So now we've heard all this, now what? What do we do? And I have this thing in my house where we all heard of kind of child proofing or elder proofing your home. I culture proof my home. And so what I do is, the same way that child proofing your home is to protect your child from injury, culture proofing for me is protecting their identity. And so we make sure that it's an intentional, life that we are trying to create. So that means putting, artwork and books that resemble, our multicultural reality. There's characters that are Black and brown. There's, but research shows that it's not necessarily our kind of community that needs the help. It's really, we need to see that also in white families. You mentioned that you went inside what are they doing to make sure that they too are showing their children how to bring, what that looks like. So do they have dolls or toys or books that resemble the world in which we live? One thing that I do is on the first day of school, I get 2 books, and I know there's some educators out there who can appreciate this. I buy 2 books and I share within my children's library and one here for home, because so that the children that may not be have parents that are bringing those things into their own home, I want to make sure that at least I do my part inside their own library in the classroom, so that they can see different characters of, different stories, different whatever it is. So diversity and inclusion, even if that means I have to be the one bringing in the book. So definitely let's continue with this as our call of action, and we'll go to the next slide. Oh, is that me as well, Lily? This is just, again, another prompt where we're just asking, we talk about what do we have, what can we do? What can we say if this is kind of coming when someone's asking a question, whether it's the what are you question that I know a lot of folks have had that, especially in the mixed race community, multiracial community, have had that question being asked to them. So you can kind of put the onus back on the person who's doing the asking and kind of asking, what is the meaning behind your statement? So that they kind of start to ask themselves, why am I asking this question and what does it mean? Next slide, unless there's anybody who wants to chime in.
I did want to say that, sometimes when you call someone out like this and say, well, what do you mean? What did you say? They'll ignore it, or they'll say oh, all right. They'll just ignore it and not address it. And you can talk back to that and say, yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, no, it's tricky. And I think definitely, want to be able to explore that a little bit more. And I'd love to go when we do our breakout rooms is to explore that a little bit more. But, as we end, with this as our slide, and kind of asking each other, what does it mean? I think it's important that we are becoming, that we take part in this anti-racism work and really educate ourselves in what it means because it is, the fetishization is a form of racism. And I think what it's demeaning, and it can be, infuriating, because you're not seeing the person as multidimensional. It's confusing and it's painful to be seen as a commodity or as a prize. And I think that's one of the things we have to keep bringing back. Is it based on my physical features, to which I had no, I didn't ask for? So I think it's those kind of questions that we need to continue to talk about. What does it mean when someone touches your hair or talks about you in a racialized way? So it just, the work is ongoing. And I think we also need to talk about, being listened to and understood. And so when the language that people are using and that you use yourself, I think that's also how we equip ourselves to be able to reply to folks. And then let's see, one of the things that I wanted to end with before, we go on, into our breakout room is that, let me find my note here. Okay, so we talked about intent does not trump impact. Whether somebody, kind of poo-poos you and says, oh, you're just being sensitive, just note that their intent does not trump your impact and what you heard. And as parents, as caregivers, as, those that care about others, it's our role to ensure that our children develop these healthy racial identities, and we give them the tools to establish self-esteem that is positive and that it benefits them. So, also we have to dismantle the racism that is kind of inherent and structurally in our society. So talk about it. Do not take a colorblind approach. That's kind of, first and foremost. So that's the end of my kind of presentation. And I would love to hear what Lily and the community has to say.
Yeah, this is a great transition actually into our pledges. We usually do this at the end of our meetup, but I would like to do this right now. It's like for us to take a moment to reflect and share in the chat and or openly, like, what is our commitment and or our pledge for this month to ourselves, the community, to your inner child, to your siblings, to the children and the kids that are in your life? Like, what from what we've learned and what we spoke about do we commit to? Like, I love Sonia's suggestion, like, buy 2 books, do your part, bring 1 book into the library. Like, we talked about mixed toys. We talked about all the different ways that kids might be in our lives and in different roles we're playing. Like, what can we do to support a holistic environment for the children in our lives, especially when it comes to their racial, ethnic, and any other gender, to their ability, to their neurodivergence, to their sexual orientation, to their gender orientation. Like, all of these identities are so important in order to give them space to be their full self. Yeah. What is our pledge to raise children in an environment where they can be our full self? That's the question. Yeah, we can definitely also bring this question into the breakout rooms, and maybe after we've had time to discuss, we want to share more. Before we go into breakout rooms, I really want to take a group photo of all of us. So if you're down to be part of the group photo, take yourself, turn your camera on. Doesn't matter what you look like, if you're camera ready or not. Thank you. I see you, Bina. Thank you so much. We're going to take our group photo in 5. Oh, wait 1 second. I have to make sure that we are.
My bum, because my face is not good.
Oh, Sandy, hi. So good to see your face. Everyone's face is good. Everyone's face is good. So, please, it's just an opportunity to celebrate that there's a community here together. So we will be taking, oh, Lauren, thank you. I see you. Raquel, I see you. Thank you. Okay, we'll be taking some group photos in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yay! All babies are cute. I don't know. What?
That sounds like all lives matter.
Exactly. Oh, not that one. That we're not going to. That is the opposite of what we're doing here today.
Yeah, totally. On the subject of all babies are cute. Now, I can't comment, maybe shouldn't comment on this because I'm not mixed, but is it an idea to drop the term mixed altogether? Because I know that I don't think of my baby as mixed. I don't even think of myself as being in an interracial relationship. I prefer the term intercultural. And I just don't think of my baby as being mixed. It is my baby. It's a result of the beautiful love that Kunle and I share. So I don't know, what do people think?
Yes,
if we could maybe there's another term.
So that has definitely been talked about, and again, it's within the multiracial community. That is something that has been talked about a lot, and it also depends on the language that is comfortable. Again, take everything in its totality, listen to what others, and find something that makes you comfortable in how you start addressing your the relationships that you have, or the language, but definitely provide all the different forms, the different language that is used. Again, with bringing my 4 kids into it again, I give them all the different, iterations, because we know that, identity is fluid. So I give them kind of the option and let them know what's out there, and how they decide is up to them. And I am of the Dr. Maria route, where, we get to self-identify as individuals, as mixed race, as however you are comfortable defining who you are. So, and I'm not one to, go after others that identify differently. So it's something that is comfortable to you, knowing all the different terms that are there. I myself go back and forth in one conversation. I'm mixed, I'm biracial, I'm multiracial, I'm Afro-Latina, I'm Blaxican, I'm, those kind of things. So it's whatever I'm feeling at that moment, and that's okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'll just respond to that too. I use the word mixed because I am mixed in so many ways. Like, I am from different countries. My parents are from different countries. They have different racial backgrounds. They have different ethnic backgrounds. I speak 2 languages completely fluent, and learning French. And I see myself as a citizen of the world, and I participate in many, many different cultures. And so for me, it's not mixed as like I'm biracial. For me, it's mixed as like I'm a mixed person that has a mixed bag of tricks, kind of that kind of thing. And for me, mixed is the only word that really makes sense, because it's open enough to incorporate everything without being super specific. Like, biracial feels a lot more limiting, because then it's like, okay, there's 2 races, and it feels very much like I adhere to that social construct. So I like the use mixed for myself, but I totally agree with everything that Sonia says, that it is that we have the luxury of finding the exact terminology that makes us feel comfortable, that makes us feel seen, and us feel full. And if mixed feels like it takes away, or it starts to compartmentalize people's identities, then it's not the right word. We are back.
Thank you, Sarah.
Hi, thank you.
We are back. Yeah, as you see, TMS Tech Support, thank you so much. There's a survey of our meetups. And so as we're closing up, let us know what you thought of the meetup. We are onto our whiteboard section. So I'm posting the instructions in the chat. I'm leaning on you, community members who have been here before. At the top of your screen, you can go to the view options, and then at the bottom, you'll see annotate. And so you can select text feature, and then you can add notes. There could be 10 people annotating at the same time. So anything that you want to share from the meetup in general, your breakout room, people that you want to shout out, your pledges can go on here. This is a place for us to just do some community sharing of like what we want to hold on to, maybe things that you've journaled, so that we can keep it here for lives of learning. If you don't know how to annotate or you don't know what you want to say, we can take that over for you too. So just feel free to kind of write it in the chat or off mute, and and we can add it for you. Yes, hearts. No is a full sentence. This was the validation I needed. I always feel like that at these meetings. At this point, I'm just going to kind of drop, perfect. Huge thanks to Sonia. All her social tags are in the chat. Keep following her work and keep reaching out with more questions. I also want to let you know that when our meetup ends, check our stories at the Mixspace. There's a form in our stories that's going to be posted, just an empty form for you to screenshot and then fill out for yourself. It asks you what you've learned at the Mixspace at our meetup today, so we can share the community learnings with the rest of the world. So be aware to check that out. And I'm also just going to name some opportunities. So if you ever feel like you want to co-host a meetup with me and with the rest of our Mixspace members, we are actually collecting folks' info who we are going to be inviting in to be able to kind of host meetups with us. So definitely reach out to us about that. And then if you have any ideas for a future meetup that you really want to see, we're also open to people pitching meetups that either they want to host, or if they have a speaker that they know that would be great for a certain topic. The email is contact@themixspace.com. That is also in our chat. This is a donation-based event. What the Mixspace does is that we match all the donations that come in throughout the month of March, and we match the donations. And this month we are donating to Multiracial Americans of Southern California. MASC is the organization that has been chosen by our feature, and they do tons of really awesome work that all of you are going to want to continue to check out, to keep learning and to keep supporting the community at large. They've been a real pillar in the community for a long time and have been doing work in politics, on grassroots, and in communities just like ours to support the union and the education of the world at large and of mixed communities in general. So that is just some housekeeping. Otherwise, we are over here dropping some gems on our whiteboard here. I'm a citizen of the world. It's not my job to make others more comfortable with my ambiguity. Yes. More representation in children's media. Yes. It's truly profound to be in the company of mixed race people. I'm not alone. I am in community with all of you. Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Just to put a pin in it, so MASC was instrumental in getting the checked more than one box on the US Census. So we have a lot of history on our page. We're over 35 years in existence. So some of the things that we now kind of get to see happen with the check more than box and some of the forms started with my organization. So, you know, continue to look for us. And I shared this in my breakout room. Happy to help. If I can, drop me a note. If you send any information to Lily, she will make sure that it gets to me as well. I love seeing folks. I learn every day in communities like this. I just want to make sure that we all lead with grace and know that we are, you know, we are worthy, and you're not alone. That's one of the biggest things. I just want you to know, whatever you came here with, you are heard. And I thank you for sharing that insight with us today in community. So thank you. And Lily, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. To all of you for being here. This is the time we can take ourselves off mute. We can just kind of wave into the camera. We can say goodbye, and keep sharing blessings with everyone in whatever spiritual and religious practice we have, to just close out our energy and say thank you for all of us who've been here, who've contributed, and see you. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.